Hello, my name is Ossi Mäntylahti, and in this video we are going to be presenting an ultimate solution for using Odoo's email with Microsoft 365 solution. And here with me we have the OBS Jesse Järvi. Say hello to the people, Jesse.
Hello everyone, I'm a consultant here at OBS Finland, and this is actually my first session with Ossi here on YouTube, so nice to meet you all.
Very well. So we are going to share the screen, and you can see then what we have presented for you. So the title of our presentation is the Ultimate Solution Guide for Microsoft 365 Email, and we are focusing on Microsoft 365, but the same principles actually apply to the Google as well. And the thing is that why do we need to address this topic is that both Microsoft and Google have terminated their support for old email logins. So essentially, you used to be able to log into these systems using normal SMTP or IMIP box, and you were able to send email. But now that is over. So and this has caused a lot of trouble. Strictly speaking, the protocols do work, but they have to be encapsulated within a modern authentication process. So that is to use OAuth and tokenization. And correct me, yes, if I'm wrong, but I think the whole process is that you must have an application that is intended for sending the email. Then Odoo connects to this application. Then it authenticates using Microsoft Graph, and then finally the email is sent.
Yes, so basically the change is that now you have to do it via an application and with a token. So no longer it's supported to authenticate just with an account as with the clear text authentication. So this is a change because of security, and this is to mitigate some of the biggest attack vectors and exploitation options for phishing on Office 365.
Very well. So essentially there are two main ways of using the sending and receiving emails when you are using Odoo. And then there are two additional methods for which are a bit more exceptional. But essentially, the first one is using the basic Odoo SaaS emails. So essentially, if you are having a client.odoo.com, then you can use the emails. They work as built-in, no additional configuration is needed. But there are a couple of limitations. First of all, the delivery is using the so-called via, so in behalf technique. And there's a hard limit set by Odoo to 200 emails per day. Second thing is to utilize a Microsoft 365 or Google as the sending system for emails. You can use your own email server, but the delivery has been less than successful in several cases. So therefore, in order to save you a lot of trouble, it is for business uses, just use the Microsoft or Google solution. They are based on the APIs. They are using the OAuth and tokens. You can use your own domain, and we consider this to be the best option for security and convenience. Yes, you might want to explain the two bottom selections as well.
Yes, so in some organizations, current technical implementations or the IT strategy might limit, or just the products currently being used might limit the options available. So we have also documented a few cases for those organizations. So one option is to run your own email server. However, that adds complexity a lot, and it adds more infrastructure, more things to patch, more things to update and maintain and monitor. So if an organization is already using a productivity cloud, just like Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, it's recommended to utilize those resources. However, if your organization is running an on-prem environment and have no cloud, then this doesn't apply to you. Or if you're a big organization and you run the hybrid environment, that might suit you better. Also, for big organizations, there's an option from Microsoft to kind of enable the feature again under the table. However, Microsoft is rarely doing these exceptions, but it's something to keep in mind.
Very well. So when we are when we are also talking about the emails, there are a couple of business decisions that are needed. We must decide on what is exactly the email address that we are going to use, what is for outgoing emails, what are we going to use for incoming emails, and how do we want to use the domain. We will get to these in details. Also, one of the additional things that we should consider when we are setting up the emails is the mass emails. So let's say that you have a newsletter and you have something like you have people who are subscribing to this newsletter. If you are using the Odoo SaaS solutions, you are a bit out of luck because there is a hard email limit of 200 messages per day, and it includes every single email. We do recommend that the mass emails are using a separate system for the transactional emails, because if the worst happens and some system detects that your emails are being spam, it is not a huge problem if the newsletters are not received, but if the transactional messages are not received, that's going to be a bigger problem. There is a limit in Microsoft 365 that you can send emails to 10,000 recipients per day, and that's pretty much okay for even moderate-sized newsletters. However, the problem really is that you can send one message per every 2 seconds. So this means that for any kind of serious mass emailing purposes, Microsoft 365 is not perhaps the best possible option. So here in OBS, we are using also the Amazon SES, especially for sending out the mass emails. And you can actually configure the Amazon SES and Odoo and Microsoft 365 at the same time for Odoo, and therefore Amazon will be used only for mass emails.
And also it's noteworthy that these limits only apply per mailbox. And if your organization is using another cloud platform like Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud Platform, you can utilize the transactional email capabilities of those services. Also, there are some other options available, just like SendGrid and MailChimp, but you can just use the one you already have if you have one. Otherwise, we at OBS Solutions can help you out to configure the transactional email implementation.
Yes, exactly. So the mass emails use a dedicated system and either use OBS provided one, which is Amazon, or use the what you already have. SendGrid, SendMail are both okay. So first, let's talk about how does Odoo email work in the Odoo's basic SaaS emails. And this essentially means that how is it by default configured in the Odoo's non-modifiable or non-configurable system, which is the so-called standard version. So interesting thing is that by default, Odoo Online does not support customers' own email. And it does not support own email domain. You can add it, but this is clearly done with the intention that it's going to be simple and it works out of the box. So it works in a manner that the emails are sent from notifications@client.odoo.com. And as you see, the name changes according to the user who is sending the email. Also, what is interesting is that the Odoo Online receives replies to this email box. So in a minute, when we are going to talk about Odoo SH and also the on-premise setting, we can see how it differs. But this works, and you can actually adjust this to be your own domain. But you need to apply the very same changes that we are applying for the for Odoo SH platform. Now for the Odoo SH emails, and this means that essentially we have the on-premise installation or of Odoo, which costs something like 30 euros here in Europe. It works in a bit different manner. So I mentioned earlier that Odoo works in this via. So it means that the Odoo is sending the emails in behalf of some user's email login. And this is the example on how the system can send the email to the recipient. So you will see that the sender is the administrator at example.com, but it is sent via email test 23odoo.com, which is our naked name for our test server. The problem here is that it is not very reliable. So in the Odoo SH, you already know probably that you can set your own email, your own domain using the CNAME alias for the server. And this essentially is an alias for the client.odoo.com domain name where your server is running. So for all the practical purposes, this works fine for the websites, but it is really insufficient for emails. And why is it insufficient for emails? Is simply that it works if it works. So we have been battling with these kind of delivery issues in many occasions, and sometimes they work, sometimes they simply don't work. So, and the email can be sent, or the email can just appear in the junk box. And for test systems, this is okay. For production business uses, I don't consider this to be sufficient. I would like it to be foolproof that it gets in email. Everything else is secondary, but the email delivery must arrive to email boxes.
And it's also noteworthy that anti-spam policies are becoming stricter and stricter every single day and month and year. So if it works for you now, it might work. It might not work for you next month. And also, the more emails you send out, the more critical the recipient's mailboxes will be when they are evaluating whether a message is spam or not. So basically, you don't want to work with the default configuration.
Yeah,
exactly. It will break down down the line.
Exactly. So here we can already see the examples of the emails that really don't reach the inbox, or they go to junk email, or there is a big error message warning. So for production use, I consider the priority is that the emails reach the recipient. So in order for the there's secondary challenge. Even if we are able to send the email correctly, we must also be able to receive the replies from the customers. So how do we get the receptions of the replies to the emails? Well, Odoo is reliant that it must have one normal IMAP email box where the SSL TSL encryption is enabled. And this is now the challenge that Google and Microsoft do not support this out of the box. So even though we may be able to get the emails out, getting them in is another challenge. But don't worry, we have found a solution and we are going to explain it to you in the next few minutes. So, principle essentially is that we recommend that Odoo emails should only use one fixed email address to ensure the delivery. And then Odoo's sender name is the sender name of the email is going to change according to the user who is logged in with Odoo. And essentially, so this is just a fixed email address and email box, and the benefit is that this email box can also be shared with another system, like for example HubSpot, and we can also manage all the aliases in the Microsoft 365 or Google. So our recommendation is based on one email box, which is dedicated for Odoo's use. So let's move on to our example case. We have a fresh domain with Microsoft 365 and a server running on Odoo SH. So first of all, we need to have a subscription. We need to have the subscription for this email box, and the most economically sensible plan is Exchange Online Premium Premium Plan 1. Which cost approximately €4 per month. And I think there's something like 50 gigabytes of email box. So there is plenty of space. So the email box can be something like ERP@customer.com, customer@customer.com, or Odoo@customer.com. And in the case that you are not acquiring a new Exchange subscription for a new domain, and you already have an email domain, your system administrators must allow SMTP and IMAP for this machine account. But the SMTP and IMAP are not supposed to be allowed for outside of this account. Then there's a question of the aliases. We are getting back to these aliases a bit later on, but we strongly recommend that these aliases are just managed manually. In the end of the day, you really don't need that many of them. They are we need a couple of the fixed ones, but we don't really need several aliases for Odoo's use, mostly for help desk and projects.
And noteworthy is that aliases are free, so you don't have to pay for them. And also, if a single mailbox isn't enough for you, more can be configured in Odoo.
That is true. That is true. Okay, a couple of important addresses that are needed for when we are navigating around. We need to have the access for Microsoft 365 admin portal, which is found from admin.microsoft.com. We also need to have the access for Azure Active Directory Admin Center, AAD portal Azure.com, and also Outlook web address. So we have the outlook.office.com. And our journey begins with purchasing the Exchange Online Plan 1, and it's €4 per month, approximately, give or take some cents for VAT. And we don't really need to have the business standard, which is something like €12 per month, which includes also the applications. We just need the email box. So in our example, we are purchasing this for domain ossimantolahti.com, and we are just creating the new subscription for this client. And pretty much just go around and purchase it, and you can just create a new domain. And this is, by the way, this is just a new domain, so we can just go ahead and fill it here. One of the things that if you are not familiar with the creation of the Microsoft 365 domain is that tenant is that there is this initial account, and it should only be used for the management and administration. So don't use it for any other purposes. That is going to be that is the easiest thing. So one administrator account, and then the users as separate accounts. So once you have completed the purchase, the next thing that we want to do is to add a domain for the subscription. So this is done from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So that's the address you can find here, adminmicrosoft.com, and you go on settings the domain, and then you add the domain. And in order for Microsoft 365 to be able to use this domain, you need to add one TXT style record for the domain's DNS records. And the beautiful thing is that if you are using a system like Cloudflare, Microsoft can actually do this for you. So you can just allow this sign into Cloudflare, give a username and password, and Microsoft will be adding this record for you. Or you can just add it manually, up to you. In the end of the day, this is actually an example on how the domain adding is going to look if you use the Cloudflare authorize. So therefore, you can just allow Microsoft to do the changes for Cloudflare, and it works like a dream. What should be noted here is that the SPF content should be verified after this, because Microsoft is actually pretty strict on it, and it may actually remove the included addresses that are not needed anymore. But the beautiful thing also is that also all the server settings will be done automatically. So the end result may take a couple of minutes, maybe even half an hour, but the important thing is that what you have to check before you continue is that the new domain which you added must be available in the domains, and it must show this healthy status. If it is not showing there, if there's a delay, you may need to open a ticket with Microsoft, or just wait until the DNS is updated, and then you can proceed. Don't proceed from this step until this is done.
Also noteworthy is that if you already have an Office 365 tenant, you don't have to create a new one, so you can utilize your existing one, and that is recommended.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we are just showing this step by step from the case when you don't have a subscription. So it is in the case that you already have a tenant, then it's really you can skip a lot of the steps here. But here is an important verification. So go to adminmicrosoft.com and check the org settings under the domains, and here there is a selection of modern authentication. If the security defaults have been enabled, then you are okay. But if not, then you actually have to jump through more hoops and loops in order to allow the SMTP and IMAP. But if security defaults are there, no problem. So then we should create the new user for Odoo emails, and go to users, active users, and add user. Create a new account for the Odoo's use, and here I am just using the account erp@ossimantelahti.com, and in our case we actually didn't remove the license from the administrator user. You can do it, and therefore we actually had to select the create user without the product license. But Not a biggie. That's pretty self-evident on how to do it. Then, after the user has been created, we can see that the licenses is showing status of the licenses, and it is this managed product licenses. And we must be able to set the license for the user. In this case, it is Exchange Online Plan 1. Now, open the Odoo ERP from the previous screen. And you can actually see that this kind of screen, there you can see that this email has now, a box has now been created. And you can now, so you should check that the email apps are set so that we can get at least IMAP and authenticated SMTP must be checked. You can also make your life easier and select the rest. You don't really need POP, but apart from that, that's fine. All right. At this stage, you can also set up the email aliases. They are set
under the account panel.
Yeah, account panel here. There's a setting for setting up the aliases, and we actually recommend that you set the aliases for at least Odoo and catch-all. And then also create an alias for each helpdesk queue and project if you are using those. So, for example, in this case, we just have one email queue which is support, and then we have two projects. We have Project X and Weapon X. And our principal email address is erp@ossimäntulahti.com. Please note that in some cases, especially when you are using a new domain, the alias registration can take some time. So when we are getting to the stage when the email box is created, then you may want to validate that these email aliases actually do work as well. Second thing, what we want to do is that we should set up the auto archiving of this email box. Everything that is there is essentially at the end of the day going to be copied to Odoo, but we want to make certain that it doesn't overflow. So we can just go there with the Odoo Outlook web access from outlook.office.com and set the settings, all settings, and email retention policies, and I think 1 month delete is okay. And now at this point, do send and verify that the emails can be sent and received correctly.
And of course, it's recommended to store the emails as long as possible. So if you have an active mailbox that gets filled up quite fast, then 1 month is right for you. If it's not that active, you can even pick 1 year, or in some cases 5 years. You can always purchase additional mailbox storage. So it's a good practice as a backup, and also for compliance reasons to store them on the Outlook mailbox. And you will have to pick out a retention policy that suits out for you.
Very well. So that part was the easy one. Next thing is that we need to go to the Azure AD portal to create a new web app. Can you remember, Jesse, by heart, what was the address again?
aad.portal.asia.com.
Yes. And in the Azure, we have to create a new application for that Odoo will be using for the app registration, for email, sending and receiving the email. So we go to Overview, Add, and select the app registration. And now the important thing is that we have to create a new application, select the name, what you want, select the permission, that is the multi-tenant and personal Microsoft accounts. Skype, Xbox is the correct selection. And then the redirect URLs must be set. Without this, it doesn't work. So essentially here, you must allow server.odoo.com/Microsoft_Outlook/confirm. We actually recommend that you add a couple of more of these, but for now, this should be enough. Okay, once the application is created, then you need to go to the back to the Azure AD portal, and you have to add permissions for this application. So look for the overview, then select the application, and then from the left-hand screen, select token configuration and add permission. And the permission type, what you want to use, is called Microsoft Graph. You want to set then delegated permissions, and you must grant you must add two permissions. You must add SMTP send, and you must add imap.access-as-user.all. So at the end of the day, you should have this kind of permission here, and it must be those must be enabled for your application. Without these, the application cannot send or receive the email. We also recommend that the admin consent confirmation is added here. So here you can see that there's a tick box for the grant admin consent for the organization, and it should show the status of the green check mark that it is granted. All right, so now we have created the application. We have also set up the permissions for the application. Now we have to look for create a username and password for this application. So look for the application in the Azure portal, and left-hand screen there is an enterprise applications selection. Look for the application that you just created and look for its properties. Then you must assign it to this user that we just created for Odoo's use. So select the user, assign users and groups, and now you should be able to create the user. Now, mind you, this is actually going to be different based on if you have a simple simple tenant like what we have here in our example, or if we have a multiple large AD tenants. Am I correct, Lisa? No objections from yes, so this must be okay. So moving on, we now can go and see the application ID. That is essentially the username for the application. We have to copy it. It's a GUID code. Just copy it there. Put it on Notepad or something else.
Now my mic seems to be working. So actually, I tried to respond to you earlier. So basically, the setup flow is always the same. Azure AD is a single product for everyone. However, organizational policies on your organization might vary, and you might have to check up with your IT management regarding setting up new applications.
Very well. So to get the password, you go to app registrations, you select the app, and there you can see the certificates and secrets button. And in the certificates and secrets, you have to add a new client secret. Note here that by default, each token is only valid for a certain period of time. So in this case, in our case, the maximum is 2 years, and after that it must be re-enabled. So it is a good practice to renew these maybe once per year and put this already now in the calendar that it must be reset. So in the client secret screen, copy the value. Don't copy the secret ID, copy the value. So that's essentially the password. I mentioned that in this case, we may actually want to enable the multiple redirects. So once more, go to the while staying on the Azure admin portal, go to dashboard, application, and then app registrations, and select the application. And then at the left-hand side, there's an authentication screen. So there you can see already where we configured the email test23.odoo.com/Microsoft Outlook/confirm. Recommended is that you also add your own server domains there, with and without the www addresses. It's just it is a quality of life improvement which makes life easier. So recommended to do it at that point. All right, finally done with the Microsoft configuration. So next thing what we need to do is that we need to open an incognito session with Odoo. Of course, you already should have one account there that has the permissions to do the administrative changes and login to Odoo there. Why we are using incognito is that if that you are currently logged into Microsoft 365 using the administrative account, but this administrative account does not have a mailbox access. So that's why we are using another browser. Now, once inside Odoo, go to settings, enable the developer mode. Then from the settings, you can find under discuss the Microsoft 365. If I remember correctly, you have to enable it first and then set the secret in Odoo settings. So client ID and secret. And now comes the challenging part. We need to open the technical menu and go to Odoo's email servers. And this menu can only be shown if the developer mode is active. So now we can see this kind of screen. We have to set up first the outgoing email server, give a name. We don't need to set it from filtering. You can set it if you don't want to. And this is actually where OBS recommendation differs a bit from Odoo's recommendation, because Odoo's recommendation is that each user should do the very same steps. But of course, if you have a large Odoo installation, that's not going to happen. So that's why we are recommending that you just use one fixed email inbox for everything. So much more simpler, so much less moving parts. So you must make certain that the authentication is using the Outlook OAuth authentication, and then you have to fill in the field which is username for your Microsoft account, and then click on the Odoo Outlook account. There will be a new dialog opening up with the from Odoo, where there is a Microsoft permissions that are requested, and this is something that you should now accept. Once you have accepted it and given the password, there is going to be a username and Outlook token valid. So now you can actually click on the test connection, and it should show on the top right hand screen green notification that this works. Then you have to do the same for incoming emails, but that's already the same process. So technical menu, and then incoming email addresses, incoming email servers, and then just enter the same information. I can't remember if you actually have to do the same validation again for the incoming, but the process is exactly the same. Then comes another part where you have to go to the Odoo's configuration, technical and system parameters. And in this case, there are three settings that you need to change. you must modify the domain because it is by default, it's Odoo's own domain. Set your own domain. That's the mail catch-all domain. Then modify the mail default from and set the mail default from filter. Set your fixed email address for those fields, and then you are done. Because now you can send emails to recipients from Odoo and make certain that they get received. So with that now shown, let's take a look at how it works in Odoo itself. I am going to share the window for Firefox, and we can see that we have created now here the email tester. But I'm going to show the Microsoft stuff first. So here I have now the active users, and we can see that the Odoo ERP is our account, and it has the Exchange Online Plan 1. We can see that we have created the aliases that we are going to use for this email account. And we can see that now if we jump to the Azure Active Directory, we can see that here is the application, enterprise applications. Here it is the Odoo ERP email. And okay, Jesse, help me out here. What should I show exactly here? I should show probably.
So basically, from the enterprise application, it's important to remember to assign access to the enterprise application for the machine account that you are going to use for the email. Other things from here you don't have to configure. So this is the only thing you have to configure from the enterprise application sides. If we go back to Azure Active Directory and choose app registrations, this is where the app registration itself happens. So here you define the redirect URLs and the API permissions that the application is allowed, the data the application is allowed to fetch. Actually, regarding API permissions, if also you go there, it's really recommended to grant the admin consent first. So this makes it easier if you are setting up multiple email accounts, and this also makes it easier to fix incorrect email behavior and stuff like that. So this is a button you actually want to click.
So first this button, and then we add permissions.
No, first you add the permissions and then you give the consents.
Very well. Okay. And then the authentication. Yeah, this is where the redirect URLs are set. And then the certificates and secrets are here. Yeah, the thing is that we cannot see the value anymore after it has been created. So you have to copy it at this point already. Otherwise, you just have to create a new client secret.
Yeah, and it's recommended to store the secret somewhere in a secure place like KeePass or 1Password if your organization has one set up.
Yeah, exactly. And then let's go to Odoo itself. And here we can see that, for example, we can now send. Well, let's start from the contacts. So here now we can now send a message for this user. So here it is. And I am not going to wait for every single thing, because you actually have to go and go to email. Yeah, you have to go and fetch now, because this is always taking some time. I think I received the email. Yeah. No, it's okay. Here it is, and
We
Now we
can't
can
see
send
your
it.
personal email. We can only see your browser.
Yeah, just fetching it now. May take a couple of minutes. Just note that by default, Odoo's scheduled actions are going to be
5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think it's here in the scheduled actions. Yeah, and it's fetch my service here and run manually. Yeah, I have now configured it to be 1 minute, but it pulls it only by default every 5 minutes. So it's here, and as you see now, I get the responses for the messages. Same thing with the emails. For sales, you can try to send a quotation, and let me set it to my opssolutions.com. Add here a product price €2. Send by email. Send. And here we go. And after a minute, I should be able to receive it here. And yeah. And again, I have to. Here is where the email is coming from, because I can see that I actually have the email box open here, and that's why I am getting some sound messages. But now, where is the fetch my service again? It was scheduled actions. You actually can do it here as well as in the incoming mail servers, and you can initiate the fetch now from here. And as we see, here it is. Here is my coming yet. Okay. Yeah, here it is, man, and my reply is coming here as well. So everything works in this, and the beautiful thing is that once the email box is here, you can actually see the emails coming in and going out on this email box. And this email box can also be shared within the organization. So likewise, I have here created simply the aliases for these. I have this support and VIP support. So what we can see here in this email server is that we have a help desk and we have two queues. We have customer care, which is support@ossimentality.com, and vip.support@ossimentality.com, and we can see that the email can just be sent, and then the system will automatically reply, and tickets are created automatically. Note that these aliases have to be created manually. All right, I think that pretty much covers what we had in mind. Yes, anything else to add for the end of the presentation?
Yes, one of the strong sides of Odoo is actually its customizability and the ability to integrate it with other products. And if your organization is already using Microsoft services, we can help you on integrating Odoo to your Azure AD. We can do single sign-on. We can actually integrate Odoo to Microsoft Teams. We can do calendar integrations for Exchange Online, and we can also integrate it to Azure services. So if you want to utilize Microsoft infrastructure and services you are already buying, just contact us and we'll help you out.
Very good. I think that pretty much concludes the presentation. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day. Thank you.